hoping that our director can put us all together. We do this on the show, but Zoom is quite special with things like this. So, Patricia, first, I want to ask you, why did you choose? There's so many advocacies that you can take part of, but why does this resonate with you?
Actually, Karen, I was just tapped to, to advocate for gender-based violence, but originally I'm really leaning towards advocating for mental health. But something I realized when I researched about it is that it really has an impact, not just in the physical but psychological effects to a person, which also has consequences to society as a whole. And gender-based violence, it's a human rights violation, and it's really punishable by law. And campaigns as such, like digital campaigns, we should take advantage of this, especially this time at this pandemic that people are getting used to using social media to do such campaigns. And there, so
I want to thank you. Patricia, I understand what you said that you were first leaning towards mental health. And I'd like to let you know that most of the time it's really intertwined.
yeah,
I mean, the abuser is most likely, usually, and Dana could agree with this later on, mentally unstable, right? And sometimes even the victims reach a point where they do become mentally unstable to accept such kind of a treatment. So your interest is really not far off. I understand why mental health is close to you, and I think you're still hitting the mark right there of advocating something close to your
but
heart.
after hearing about the Luna Center initiative, this is something that I could also tell to my friends or my sphere of influence, beyond posting those social media
Absolutely.
collaterals that we do
Yeah.
have, you mentioned earlier. We can actually encourage them to do these volunteering works, not just to be able to help address the problem, but also help us gain knowledge about the issue.
All right. Thank you so much. And well, I know you'll be posting with the community tomorrow. So thank you for that, Patricia. Is Miriam here with us? I was hoping to see Miriam. Are you here, Miriam? Okay. So Miriam isn't here with us just yet. Well, actually, what's interesting is Miriam actually can speak of this from her own personal point of view. Miriam has already written a book about this, of what she hoped was her Cinderella life with her first marriage. And I think many women fall into that story, essentially, that one, you need a man to save you. And number two, if a man does hurt you, it must be your fault or you did something wrong. And I think it's such a big mind shift that we need to do. It's a change of context, a way of thinking that women really need to do that. It must have been my fault. Alam mo, that's why the graphics we have, and I'd like to share it if Enya, Max, Rika, if your graphics are prepared, is there such powerful graphics that we will be releasing tomorrow on social media, because the graphics that you prepared really speaks right to the core of kung paano mag-isip ang pangkaraniwang Pilipino, at yung iniisip ng Pilipino na naku, nasunog yung sinaing, siguro kasalanan ko, talagang dapat lang nabugbog ako ni sir. Alam mo yung mga pag-iisip na yon, this is cultural in aspect that needs to change. And the other graphic that I found powerful, yung babakla-bakla, kaya ba ako binubugbog? So these are very strong messages that already need to be brought out into the public that help change our mindset. So these are the graphics that the team has prepared, and I've seen this much earlier. We have given this and spread this out to the community. Many stars, advocates will be posting this tomorrow, both on their Facebook and their IG, whether on stories. And we've also received several commitments from no less than Angel Oxin, Jody Santa Maria, big stars that have lent their voice to this campaign, Miss Isa Calzado, Bianca Gonzalez. So we will be seeing these graphics out tomorrow, and it's so powerful because social media is such a visual medium. And here's an anonymous question from Zoom. I'd like Dana to take this. Dana, if you're still here, in case that LGBTQ rights contradicts women's rights in the instances like in athletics where other girls are not chosen to join an all-girls team because their place was taken away from transgendered athletes, which rights should we prioritize first? I've never really thought about that it's a competition of which rights, but Dana, please go ahead, and can we spotlight Dana?
Yeah. Yes. Well, I think when we talk about LGBTQ rights, we should again begin with. I think we should begin with the more broad understanding of rights because a competition, I understand where this question is coming from, but it seems to me like an isolated case. In certain competitions, we can maybe allow like a more strict definition of who can join the specific all girls competition by the definition of this particular league or by this particular organization. So I guess in those cases, there's a bit of leeway or wiggle room to say that okay, it happens that for this particular competition, we accept women defined as something like that. But I think more generally speaking, I don't think that LGBTQ rights actually contribute to women's rights or would tend to contradict them.
Yes, agree. I agree with you. Another question for you. Is it okay to discuss GBV with our children? If so, how can we facilitate this conversation effectively? This is a great question because usually, number one, if you're a wife that's hurt sometimes, you don't really want to tell your kids, right? Because you think, oh wow, it's so shameful, right? Shame hits you, and why am I agreeing to this?
Yes, I agree that that's a great question, and I'm glad someone asked this. Yes, I think we should discuss GBV with our children, and I guess we don't necessarily have to begin with GBV, but we should begin with consent and healthy boundaries and enforcing those boundaries. So, for younger children, this
Good
can
one.
be good touch or bad touch.
Good one. I've taught
We
my
should,
kids that. I've taught my kids that. That's a good one.
That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
So yeah, we should maybe we should veer away from the practice of making kids kiss or hug
Oh,
relatives if they
really?
don't want to. We should ask
Oh,
them. I think we should practice asking them to model consent. Right? Do you want to hug or do you want
yeah,
to kiss,
that
Tita?
is brilliant, can I tell you? And I think that's an aha moment for me, as Oprah would say, because I have two kids, and I'm like this, kiss na, kiss na. Ikaw talaga, you didn't kiss tita, you didn't kiss tita. Ni hindi ko tinanong. It's so true. Because I
Mhm.
grew up that way.
Mhm. So yeah, I think it doesn't hurt to ask, and I know that even my generation wasn't taught about good touch and bad touch. So I'm glad we're starting to pick that up, and it's good to open up. I guess for younger children to begin talking about the body
Yes.
with our children because we want them to have the language later on. If they do experience GBV, hopefully they won't, but hopefully they would feel comfortable talking to their parents if they do experience it.
All right, Dana, thank you so much. And now she's here, first runner-up, Miss Universe.
Hello,
A good friend of
Karen.
mine as well. I worked with Miriam. I've known her for many years. Can we have Miriam Campbell now spotlighted? Finally, you're here, looking gorgeous as always. And underneath that beauty, that confidence is I've known you, Miriam, the whole time, actually, that you kept you know, the violence, the insults. Because, I mean, frankly speaking, you're a beauty queen, you're Miss Universe, and you didn't want to share it. And people saw, wow, Miriam's perfect. And you went through a period of actually embracing, no, your own pain. So maybe share it with us, okay? Gender-based violence. Did you even know you were in it?
Honestly, I didn't know. What I experienced with my first husband was verbal abuse and financial abuse, which happened mostly at the time when we were already separated. And during that time, he wasn't giving me anything, not even a cent. And when we got separated, which he admitted that he fell in love with a much younger Brazilian,
Yes, I remember.
he sent me home here, and before he sent me home, he offered me an amount which was supposed to be like some kind of financial support for the 2.5 years that we were together, since I had left everything to be with him and be and stay in Hong Kong to be with him. But since then, thankfully, I had work that was offered to me by
Yes.
a network in GMA. But ever since, I did not receive any financial support. And when I was concerned about the amount that he sent, because I felt that for everything that I had given up in order to be with him, I felt it was such a measly
It was
amount.
an insult.
And
Yes.
I didn't think it was an insult. I didn't think it that way. I just felt it was not commensurate to what I.
Okay. Okay.
So thankfully, I spoke to a friend about it, and she suggested that I consult with divorce lawyer.
Yes. Now, Miriam, I don't mean to interrupt you, but before you go to the divorce, let's go back to the essence of gender-based violence. I caught something you said that you were a victim of verbal abuse, no? Now, some people may think, ay, verbal lang naman yan eh. Diba? Hindi naman siya sinaktan. But yet, we do know the empowered woman that you are. It of course, it affected you. But I want to ask you why you allowed it for a period. You know, women go through periods of, he'll change, or, maybe it was my fault. I know you went through some kind of mental debate. You told me on that.
Uh, would you consider being called stupid as a
Absolutely. Yes, yes, because you aren't stupid.
but it is, no. Um, why did I have to deal with that? I don't know. I just thought that it was part of his language.
Yeah.
And well, thankfully, I had some sort of confidence in myself after everything that I had achieved. So it didn't really bother me so much. I just thought, I just shook it off. But
Yeah.
what really bothered me was the financial abuse that I
Yeah.
experienced after we got separated.
Yeah. Oo. And Miriam, what have you learned since then? I mean, clearly now you're a different woman, you've evolved, you're remarried. But looking back at the younger you, would you have done something differently?
Oh yes, I really think I should have done things differently, in the sense that whenever he would tell me that I'm stupid, or things I'm doing I'm stupid, then I think I have the right to defend myself, or at least like the image that you have shown us, Karen.
Yeah.
Lift my hand up and say stop. You
Yeah.
have no right to call me that.
Yes. Ganda.
And if ever he will raise his voice at me, which he has done, I'm gonna have to say stop. You have no right to raise your voice at me. If you want to speak to me in a gentle tone. Now, if you're not ready, I'm going to walk away. When you're ready, you can call me, then we can speak decently. Like two.
Ang ganda naman nun, Miriam. That can be your post, ha? Yung ganyan mo, may stop. Ang ganda nun, ha? Because there you go. This is the graphics that Miriam, Patricia, and many other advocates will be sharing tomorrow.